For my cultural plunge assignment, I decided to visit a temple very close to my parents' house in Corpus Christi, Texas. Even though a lot of people consider Judaism and Christianity pretty similar, I had actually never been to a Jewish temple before, so I was excited to see the experience. One, because I have never been to a Jewish temple, and two, because it was in Corpus Christi, which is a predominantly Hispanic area, which is not really what we think of when we think of a Jewish community. So this is the entrance to Congregation Beth Israel. I didn't really know what to expect when I walked in other than the fact that they were going to be speaking Hebrew, and I obviously do not know the Hebrew language, so I was scared that I wouldn't be able to follow the sermon that was going on. I sat down feeling this nervousness that I was going to have no idea what was going on during the sermon. However, fortunately, a very nice woman named Carla sat right behind me, and she explained a couple things about Judaism as a whole. She explained that during the Shabbat service at the beginning, they treat Shabbat as a bride, and they wait for her to come into the service. So they all turn around and wait for Shabbat to come. They also open the Torah, which you can see at the front of the synagogue, which they refer to every now and then in the service. They also have the book that I'm holding that is partially in English but mostly in Hebrew that they sang from throughout the service. It was a hymnal, and the people are taught how to speak Hebrew from a young age. So it was really cool to hear that they actually understood the words and they knew what was going on. However, I had no idea what they were saying. I want to share a couple other things that show how stereotypically I think of Jews that I learned throughout the service. One is that I saw a man wearing cowboy boots, which really surprised me because I think of Judaism as this very strict, rigid culture, when in fact they're just normal people living in our society who have a different religion. It also surprised me that the president was a woman, which again shows how stereotypically I think of Jews, because I think that they like to have men in charge when in fact it is an equal split between the genders. And finally, the last thing that really surprised me was to hear people speaking in Spanish. I always think that Jews know English, and I know that they know Hebrew. However, I've never really thought of Jews knowing a language like Spanish, which I honestly should have expected coming to a synagogue in Corpus Christi. However, I just had this view of them in my mind that they were more related to the Middle East and not to the Hispanic culture. And finally, I just wanted to show y'all the coolest and most important fact that I found while exploring the synagogue. If you can read this, it says that this is one of the few Torahs that survived the Holocaust, which is just an amazing relic, and it is actually on loan to the synagogue in Corpus Christi, and I thought it was such a neat piece of history that I got to witness. Although this was way out of my comfort zone and I will probably never do it again, I am super glad that I got to do this cultural plunge assignment because it taught me that I need to be consciously aware of how I am stereotyping people, because it is obviously not true. These people just really blew my mind and showed me that Judaism is so much more than I thought it was, and that people are not all the same. And although I couldn't record it in the actual service, I found an online version of Jewish people singing a hymn, and it sounds really cool, so I'm going to play a couple seconds of that if you would like to listen. It makes me realize that not just with Jewish students, but with students of different religions and cultures as a whole, we as teachers need to be more accepting, and we need to reach out to them in order to understand what they are going through in their lives.